So let's get started. Number one, find the slope of a line parallel and perpendicular to the graph line below. So we've talked about parallel and perpendicular slopes a lot. You should have the idea of how they work, like we were just talking about. But the key here on this one is you have to make sure to get a slope from the line. So like I was just talking about, to get a slope from the line, you want to identify 2 points on the line. And then it's how far do you go up or down. This time you go down 2 and you go over 3 to get to the next one. So the slope of this line is negative 2 over 3. A couple things that should help you or keep in mind anyways. Because the line is going down from left to right, that's a negative slope. So that should be, keep that in mind. Parallel slopes, identical. So exact same answer here, negative 2/3. Perpendicular slope, like we've talked about. You're going to take the slope, flip the numbers, change the sign. Positive 3 over 2. Perpendicular, no matter what it starts as, flip the numbers, top goes to the bottom, bottom goes to the top, change the sign. Positive becomes negative, negative becomes positive. Every time. Okay, for question 2, there's 2 parts. So you have the equation of line K is 2x plus 5. The equation of line M is negative 10x plus 2y equals 14. First, solve line M to slope-intercept form. So we need to be able to turn this into mx plus b. We did some problems with that earlier this week or last week. I forget what it was. But it's a 2-step process. It's pretty simple. So we start with negative 10x plus 2y equals 14. Okay. Step 1, get the x over to the other side. Plus 10x plus 10x. Obviously going to cancel out there. On the left side, you're left with 2y. This does not become 24x. 14 is a number by itself. It stays there. Plus the 10x. Okay? Then step 2, divide by the number in front of y. When you do that, you get positive y equals 7 plus 5x. If it makes you feel better, the order can be switched. 5x plus 7, mx plus b. Either way. Now, question B. Are the lines K and M parallel, perpendicular, or oblique? Oblique is in your notes. We didn't talk about it very much. But basically, oblique is just they're not parallel or perpendicular. It's like none of the above. So, we're looking at line K, which has a slope of 2x, and the one we just saw, which has a slope of 5. Are those parallel lines? Are they identical slopes? No. Clearly, 2 and 5 is not the same number. Are they perpendicular? Did we flip the fraction and change the sign? No. So in fact, this leaves us with, and again, oblique is any 2 lines that cross but not perpendicular and they're not parallel. So it's just anything that's not those 2, which is everything else. That's all oblique means. Not like your muscles in your stomach or whatever. What is the equation of a line that is parallel to negative 4x plus 5 and passing through 3, 1? So we did a lot of this practice recently. What are the 2 things you need to write an equation? Slope and a point. Now, for those of you who understand your equations very well, mx plus b is slope-intercept because you have a slope, then you have the y-intercept. If the point they give you is a y-intercept, then it makes your job easier. But most of the time they don't, so we have to go through this process. So if I am parallel to to this equation, what slope should I be using? -4. Remember, parallel is identical, same slope. The point is 3, 1. So again, tomorrow, if you're not able to use your notes, you will have the formulas for each equation. Point slope is y minus y1. I'm not wrong, I'm right. That sounded like a buzzer telling me I was wrong. Y minus 1 equals the slope times parentheses x minus x1. So that is point slope form. To get that to slope intercept, which is mx plus b, is 2 steps. Step 1, distribute. This stays the same. -4 times x is -4x. -4 times 3 is plus 12. Step 2, get rid of the -1. I always run out of space here. So your final answer should be -4x plus 13. Number 4, find the slope and y-intercept of the equation for 8x plus 4y equals 16. This is just a little more complicated way of asking you to do what you did in problem, I think it was 2. We just have to get this into y equals mx plus b form, right? So again, it's a 2-step process. We start in standard form, which is this. And so step 1, get rid of the x from that side. Cancels. 4y equals 16 minus 8x. Again, do not literally subtract this and get just 8. The 16 stays by itself, the minus 8x stays because it has an x with it. Second step, divide by what's in front of y. Let's try that again. And 16 divided by 4 is 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Again, similar to the previous one we did, if you need to change the order. Now, if you want to write this in mx plus b form, you can leave it like this. This is fine. Any sign in front of the x stays with it, right? So if you reorder this, it's negative 2x positive 4. Okay, so if there's a sign in front of it, whether it's positive or negative, it goes with it. What's the slope? -2, the number in front of x. What's the y-intercept?
4.
There you go. All right. Coming up here, did they number them? I numbered them wrong. 4. No, okay. Number 5, write the equation of a line that passes through the point 1, 4, and 0, -5. Okay. No matter what, if they're asking you to write an equation, you need 2 things. Slope, point. Do we have a slope at the moment? No. Do we know how to find slope if you have 2 points? You should. There's a formula which you'll have tomorrow for slope of 2 points. And it is basically y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You subtract the x's on top, or excuse me, the y's on top, the x's on the bottom. So if this is x1, y1, and that's x2, y2, then we're just going to put that into the, why didn't you erase? There you go. We're just going to put that into the formula. So on the top, we're going to get negative 5 minus 4. On the bottom, we're going to get 0 minus 1. Okay, that's y2 minus y1 on top, x2 minus x1 on the bottom. Negative 5 minus 4 is negative 9. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. After all this, negative 9 over negative 1 becomes just 9. And that's my slope, positive 9. Now, remember a second ago where I said if you have the y-intercept, it's a lot easier to do this, but you can always use any point. If x is 0, that is your y-intercept, because on the graph, you didn't go left or right, you just went down 5. So, if we use this point, I'll go through the little equation real quick, and then I'll show you why you could have just gotten the answer from here. If you plug things in properly, you get y minus negative 5 equals slope times x minus 0. Because 0 is my x1, negative 5 is my y1. So that's going to become plus. Does minus 0 do anything here? No, so you can get rid of it. So the distribution step isn't really necessary. And then what would be your next step? Minus 5 minus 5. So what does my equation become? 9x minus 5. You could have really just put that into mx plus b. Slope of 9m, y-intercept of negative 5, mx plus b. But that's why it works. So this becomes 9x. 6, write an equation of a line that passes through 4, negative 8, and is parallel to the line with the given information. So again, obviously you'll have several different versions of writing equations, parallel, perpendicular, and what have you. So slope, my slope here is 2. My point is, I wrote that wrong, 4, negative 8. And hopefully by now this process is getting pretty, it's easy for you. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. That's a plus plus, and that distributes. Y plus 8 equals 2x minus 8. Now be careful here. The 8 became positive. Let me change colors to. When you subtract, does negative 8 minus 8 cancel out? No. So be careful. It's 2x minus 16. A lot of times when y'all see the same number, whether they're both positive or both negative, y'all want to cancel them out. Do be careful. Okay, it's negative 8, but then it's minus 8. So if you're thinking on a number line, you're at negative 8, but you're going back 8 more. So you're not getting closer to 0. You're just moving further back. 7, write an equation of a line that passes through P and is parallel to AB. So again, we're just going to change the way we get the information. So to identify our slope, first we got to find the slope of the line. From B to A, I go up 3 and over 3. What is 3 over 3 as a slope? Ooh, be careful. 1. parallel slopes are the same, so my slope is 1. Where is point P located? Sure is. Point slope, same thing we've been doing. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Distribute, but it doesn't really change the numbers. It just leaves, gets rid of the parentheses basically. So 1x minus 2, and then to get rid of the minus 1, it's plus 1. Now these signs you got to be careful of. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And then this says to graph it on your grid. So here's y-intercept of negative 1, and then a slope of 1, it would look like that. Any questions on that front page? Anything you need me to go back to? This stuff we did on the last test, but nothing overcomplicated, like this. In the diagram below, angle 6 is 55. Find the value of the rest of the angles. Again, couple things should be true. Only 2 numbers should be an answer here. 55, and then what makes 55 add up to 180? So, what's 180 minus 55? Careful. Well, but you got to be careful with that, because I know 5 and 3 makes 8, but because you have the 5, you're going to add an extra 10 in. And so if you did that, that would make 190. So you actually have to drop down 1 in the tens unit. So that's 5. 7 minus 5 is 2, and then the 1. So next to 55 should be 125. There and there. That's a really bad writing, sorry. Let me try that again. 125, 120, that's yeah, anyways. And then across from it at 8, you should have 55, because it's the same. So again, it's only these 2 values that are going to fit things in. So let's put this part in first. That's 125 for 5. 7 is 125. 8 is 55. And then at the top, it's going to be the exact same pattern. It should be 125 there and there, and 55 there and there. So then it's, come on. $125, 2 is 55, 3 is 125, 4 is 55. So when you do these problems, it's only 2 values, the one they give you and the one that makes it equal 180. It's one of those 2 numbers. And do make sure it adds to 180. Some of you got the idea that it's 2 values, but the last time we did this on the test or quiz, y'all were making it add to 150 or something else. So be careful there. Last one. The alternate interior angles conjecture states that if 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent. The picture shows the relationships below. 4 students chose congruent angles to test this conjecture. Their answers are shown below. Which statement shows proof of the conjecture? Not because of student error. That last part should have been cut out. It should have just ended right there. Basically, which one shows alternate interior angles? So, A, 1 and 5 are congruent, but they're corresponding. They're in the same spot of their group. B, 2 and 6, same thing, corresponding. C, 4 and 6, alternate interior. Alternate means different sides of the transversal. Remember, 4 is to the left, 6 is to the right. And interior means between L and M. 3 and 8 actually didn't have a name for it because it's here, and there's no connection to those two. All right.